What's up guys, my name is Ace, and a huge part of my job is looking at weapon balancing and trying to find underrated guns and bring them to light, as well as share like what the best guns are and the best setups and best attachments. And a big thing I've been thinking about a lot lately since that DMR nerf is the weapon balancing in Warzone. I truly believe is some of the best weapon balance that we've seen for at least many months. And this is great news in my mind because typically with Warzone, a certain very narrow meta will tend to emerge where it's basically there's one assault rifle that almost everybody is using, or at least anybody that's paying attention to what the meta is, which in the higher skilled lobbies is going to be pretty much everybody in that lobby. So you'll have almost everybody using the same assault rifle, and then the same SMG as a secondary, or the same marksman rifle or sniper rifle as their secondary. And then that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot of variety. Sure, some people branch out a little bit, but for the most part, usually in Warzone, there is a very small handful of gun that's just completely dominating everything. And if you aren't using one of those guns, you're typically going to be putting yourself at a pretty big disadvantage and you're going to fall behind, especially with skill-based matchmaking in place. Currently though, I really feel like there is a much bigger group of weapons that you can draw from and still be very successful. I don't feel like there's that one gun or that really small handful of guns that's just so far above the rest that you can't even compete with them if you're not using one of those yourself. And I think that's great, and I just wanted to share that today. A lot of my videos, when I'm just talking about a topic within Warzone, they are highly critical. And I'm not saying that Warzone doesn't deserve that criticism. It absolutely does. It's got big issues, and I'm going to be touching on those a bit later in this video. But I also think it's worth pointing out when things are going good, it's worth mentioning that. We are currently in the good times of weapon balancing in Warzone, in my opinion. And I wanted to share that more positive thought with you guys today. And just as an example of this, when it comes to primary weapons, the type of weapons where you'll typically pair it with either an SMG or a sniper rifle, normally you've only got maybe like 1 to 3 of these to choose from within the meta. However, right now, I honestly feel like there's at least 10 guns that you could pick from and be very successful with even in highly competitive lobbies. And just going through a quick list of guns that I feel really comfortable using as primary weapons right now. We've got the CR56 AMAX, we've got the M4, the Ram 7, the Grau, the Krig 6, the M13, the AS Val, the FFAR, the Groza, the Stoner, the M16, and then even the DMR and the Type 63. They're still very viable guns, they're just no longer those completely overpowered beasts that they used to be. I can choose any one of those weapons and feel quite comfortable with that as my primary gun, and I don't feel like we've had a meta like this in a very long time. Now, of course, I'm not saying that weapon balance is absolutely perfect in Warzone's current state. I'm just saying that I feel like the game isn't currently completely dominated by only one gun or one really small handful of guns. Instead, we've got a lot of choices on our hands that are excellent options. It's a similar story when we look at our sniper rifles or our one-shot headshot weapons. With this, I feel pretty good with a Kar 98, an SPR, the HDR, the Tundra, even the Pellington you can make work quite well, and also the AX50. There's lots of different choices there, and usually that's just going to come down to your preference and your playstyle and stuff. Like for me, out of all of those, I tend to go with an SPR. However, I'm perfectly comfortable with any of the other ones as well. I'll just have to make a slight adjustment to how I play with it. Now, I will say when it comes to SMGs and those close quarters fights, I do feel like there's definitely some more room for improvement here, because when it comes to those, it's pretty much just the MAC-10 or one of the 2 MP5s based on what I've been seeing people use, and based on what I feel comfortable with in a close quarter situation as well. I feel like those guns are kind of dominating the close quarters meta at this point. So I do feel like there's some room for improvement there. Maybe some other SMGs could be buffed up a little bit. But outside of that, I think we're in a great place when it comes to weapon balance for Warzone. Now, unfortunately, that's where the positivity ends with this. It really sucks that I see this as sort of the golden period for weapon balancing at this point, where you can really branch out and try new things, because of all of the other issues in Warzone that just completely overshadow this. And the biggest one right now is the cheaters. The number of cheaters out there using aimbots and wall hacks, for instance. It seems like we're in a big bubble of that right now. Like, I feel like in Warzone, there's always sort of a baseline number of cheaters. And then on top of that baseline, you kind of go in waves, where sometimes it's way worse than other times, where you'll get a big spike and there's like a ton of cheaters, and then maybe Activision does something about it, which will drastically reduce it, not eliminate it, but drastically reduce it for a period of time, and then it will eventually come back up again. I feel like right now we're in one of those peaks where cheaters have basically just taken over the game. And weapon balance doesn't really mean anything if you're consistently running into people that are using aimbots and wall hacks. Now, I'm really hoping, since it does seem we are in one of these peaks of cheaters, that Activision is once again going to eventually step in and do something about this. They have done it a couple times since Warzone has launched, and at least for a period of time, it significantly cut down on the amount of cheaters that you run into. I'm hoping we're going to be seeing something very similar happen in the near future, especially because some of the really big creators are talking about this a lot. So I do feel it is starting to reach that tipping point where it's going to force Activision's hand to do something about hacking. I don't anticipate they're going to suddenly surprise us with a great anti-cheat system or anything, but maybe more along the lines of something they've already done in the past. Like, a big one was them threatening the major cheat providers with legal action, or maybe this time they'll actually take legal action. That would be great. Even though doing that won't completely eliminate all cheats in the game, it would significantly cut down on them for a period of time at least. If you target the major cheat providers that most people are using, then you could provide at least some relief from the rampant cheating that's currently going on in Warzone. I'm not saying it would eliminate it, and I'm not saying it would last forever, but at least it could help significantly for the near future. Additionally, I've been seeing more and more complaints about stability issues in Warzone, where people are crashing all the time, whether that's on console or PC. And I've also got to say, at least in my experience, the connections have been brutal lately. I've said this in a previous video, but I'll just repeat it here for anybody that hasn't heard it yet. Before Cold War launched, I used to get about 60 ping in Warzone, which for me is reasonably acceptable. That's the best I could get due to my region and everything, and I could live with that. It wasn't that bad. But since Cold War launched, it's rare that I get a ping better than 90 milliseconds. Most of my lobbies are over 100 milliseconds of ping, and I'm in North America, I'm in Canada. This shouldn't be happening in my mind. Also, you might notice in a lot of my gameplay, I've got practically constant packet burst icons popping up, and I'm frequently losing gunfights where I know I should be winning these gunfights, and it is purely connection causing me to lose. Like, I'm not just using this as a scapegoat. I will go back and look at my footage in slow motion afterward, and I know for sure I should have won that fight. And that is yet another big issue, at least for me. I know this is different for everyone, but for me, that's another big thing that's sort of overshadowing this great weapon balance that we currently have. And yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I just wanted to talk about the fact that I do think weapon balance is in a very good state in Warzone right now. I'm quite happy with where things are at. However, even though they finally got that in a good place, it doesn't really matter if they don't also get on top of the other big issues in this game. Of course, I do want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about the current state of weapon balance in Warzone? Do you think it is in a good place and there's a good amount of variety that you can feel comfortable using? Or do you disagree with me? Do you think there is just a very small handful of guns that you can actually use and be competitive with? Just let me know what you guys are thinking down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.